Hello everyone, my dear viewers. What happens when confidence, money and habit been right stop working completely? In this video you will see real style moments where Americans travel to Australia expecting flexibility, influence and control, but instead face something very different.
Can you just open it for 5 more minutes? The American asked, hand on the cafe door in Fremantle. The barista inside looked at the clock, then at him. We're closed. He laughed like it was negotiable. I'll tip. She didn't move. Behind him, locals walked past without slowing. The door stayed locked. That's when it hit, nothing here was waiting to be convinced. In Brisbane, I watched an American tourist try to upgrade his hotel room at check-in without paying. He leaned on the counter, smiling confidently. Back home, they usually hook me up, he said. The receptionist nodded, typed something, then handed him the exact key he booked. Enjoy your stay. No change. No reaction. Just completion. He paused, expecting a second step. There wasn't one. He tried again, softer this time. Is there anything better available? She glanced at the screen. Yes. He smiled. Great. She met his eyes. Those rooms cost more. Silence followed, like the conversation had reached a wall. No tension, no hostility, just structure. He nodded slowly, took the key, and stepped aside. The line behind him moved instantly, like nothing unusual had happened. At a small grocery store in Adelaide, an American man opened a drink before paying and took a long sip while browsing. The cashier noticed but said nothing. When he reached the register, he placed the half-empty bottle down casually. I'll grab another later, he said. The cashier scanned it once and said, that one's yours now. No smile. Just outcome. He laughed, thinking it was flexible. Yeah, I know, I just mean I might switch. The cashier shook her head once. No. That was it. Not rude. Not sharp. Just final. People behind him didn't react, didn't even look annoyed. They just waited. He paid, quieter now, and left with the same bottle. Choice, he realized, had already been used the moment he opened it. That's the pattern I kept seeing. No one argued. No one explained. They didn't defend the rule, they just didn't move around it. Back home, friction invites negotiation. Here, friction just stays. And when nothing responds to pressure, you start adjusting yourself instead. Not because you agree. Because there's nowhere for your resistance to go. In Perth, I saw an American try to reorganize a cafe line. This would go way faster if we split into two, he said loudly, stepping forward like a manager. People looked at him, then back at the counter. No one moved. The barista kept calling orders. Flat white for Sarah. The system continued, untouched. He clapped once, trying to gather attention. Guys, seriously, this is inefficient. A woman in line took a small step forward, closing the gap he created. No eye contact. No confrontation. Just correction. The line sealed itself again. He stood there, half-turned, like he'd missed a cue. Then slowly stepped back into place. Not rejected. Just unacknowledged. During a night walk in Darwin, an American tourist laughed at a "Do Not Enter" sign near a dark trail. It's probably fine, he said, stepping past it. A ranger appeared almost instantly, not running, not rushing. Just present. You'll need to head back. The tone wasn't urgent. It was settled. The tourist shrugged. I've done worse hikes. The ranger nodded slightly. Not here. That was it. No list of dangers. No explanation. Just location. The man hesitated, then stepped back. Behind him, the darkness stayed untouched, like it didn't need defending. Some places don't scare you away. They just don't include you. At a beach cafe in Gold Coast, an American asked if they could customize the menu heavily: no bun, different sauce, swapped sides, time delivery. He explained it carefully, like a system could be adjusted with enough clarity. The server listened fully, nodded, and said, "We can do what's listed." Then waited. He blinked. "Right, but I'm just asking for small changes." She didn't interrupt. "We can do what's listed." Same tone. Same sentence. It landed heavier the second time. No resistance, no flexibility, just repetition. He ordered something simpler, quieter now. Around him, plates arrived exactly as expected. Not personalized. Just consistent.
Dear friends, at this point I think nothing could surprise me anymore. I was wrong.
In Sydney, I watched an American man argue with a ferry operator after missing boarding by seconds. "You saw me running," he said, breath still uneven. The operator looked at the closed gate. "Boarding's finished." The man laughed, shaking his head. "Come on, just open it." "I'm right here." The ferry engine hummed softly behind them, already disengaging from the dock. He stepped closer, lowering his voice like it made things more reasonable. "I'll pay extra." The operator didn't react. Didn't even look at him this time, just at the schedule board. "Next one's in 20 minutes. No apology. No adjustment." The ferry pulled away slowly, water widening the distance. The man stood there, watching it leave, realizing urgency didn't transfer into access here. At a restaurant in Hobart, an American couple asked to split a bill 6 different ways, down to exact item percentages. "It's just easier for everyone," the man explained confidently. The waiter nodded once. "We can split it evenly." The woman smiled tightly. "No, we need it itemized." The waiter paused, then repeated, "Even split is what we offer." They looked at each other, waiting for flexibility to appear. It didn't. Around them, other tables paid quickly, smoothly, without discussion. The system wasn't broken, it just wasn't built for their version of convenience. After a long pause, they agreed to the even split. Not satisfied. Just finished. Efficiency here didn't mean accommodating complexity. It meant reducing it. That's when it becomes uncomfortable. Not because you're wrong, but because your way stops existing as an option. No one tells you that directly. They just continue without it. And once you realize you can't opt out of the system, your confidence starts folding inward. Not dramatically. Quietly. Like something that expected resistance, but found none. At a busy market in Melbourne, an American tried bargaining for fruit. "If I take 3, can you do a better price?" he asked, smiling. The vendor looked at him, then at the next customer. "It's $5. Same tone. Same number. No counter. No game." The American laughed awkwardly. "That's not how this usually works." The vendor nodded. "Here, it is." Then sold the same fruit to someone else without pause. Money changed hands right next to him. No hesitation. No loss. Just continuity. The American stood there, holding his smile a second too long before letting it drop. Negotiation requires participation. And here, no one had agreed to play. During a guided reef tour, an American tourist ignored the safety rope and drifted farther out, waving casually. "I'm a strong swimmer," he called. The guide didn't shout. Didn't panic. Just pointed once toward the rope. "Stay inside." The tone didn't rise. It didn't need to. The tourist hesitated, floating in place like the decision was still his. Then he noticed something: no one else had followed him. Everyone stayed inside the boundary without question. The water felt bigger suddenly. Colder. He swam back quietly, no comment, no joke. The line wasn't enforced loudly. It was reinforced by everyone else respecting it. At a self-checkout in Canberra, an American tried to skip scanning a reusable bag fee. "It's just a bag," he muttered, pressing no bag. The machine paused. "Unexpected item in bagging area." He sighed, tapping faster. The message stayed. A staff member approached calmly. "You'll need to select the bag." He gestured at the screen. "It's not that serious." The staff member nodded slightly. "It won't proceed otherwise." No judgment. No escalation. Just limitation. The line behind him didn't complain. They waited. Eventually, he selected the bag, paid the extra charge, and finished. The system didn't argue. It just didn't move until he aligned. On a train in Melbourne, an American took a phone call in a quiet carriage, speaking loudly, confidently. A few passengers looked up briefly, then backed down. No one shushed him. No one confronted him. The conductor passed through, glanced once, and kept walking. The man kept talking, unaware something had already shifted around him.
Nice. What do you think about this story? Write please your comment.
He kept talking for another minute, explaining something about schedules and importance. No one interrupted. No one reacted. But the space around him changed, people shifted slightly away, I stayed down, conversations didn't restart. By the time he hung up, the carriage felt distant. Not hostile. Just unavailable. He looked around, confused. Silence here wasn't empty. It was exclusion without confrontation. At a hotel in Cairns, an American guest demanded a late checkout, listing his loyalty status, travel history, and inconvenience. "You should take care of regular customers," he said firmly. The receptionist listened, hand still. "Checkout is at 10. No apology. No adjustment." The man leaned forward slightly, lowering his voice like it added weight. "I've stayed in dozens of places. This is standard." She nodded once. "Here, it isn't." Same calm tone. Same steady eye contact. No escalation to a manager. No exception offered. Other guests checked out quietly beside him, keys sliding across the counter, transactions finishing cleanly. He paused, then stepped back, realizing recognition only worked where it was part of the system. On a remote road trip stop, an American tourist walked into a small fuel station and began asking detailed questions about routes, shortcuts, and timing. The attendant answered briefly, then returned to stacking shelves. The man kept talking, expanding his questions into a conversation. The attendant didn't engage further. Just continued working. At first, it felt like disinterest. Then it became something else. The conversation wasn't being rejected, it just wasn't being held. The tourist slowed, then stopped speaking entirely. The silence wasn't awkward. It was functional. He paid, took his receipt, and left. Some places don't push you out. They just don't carry you. By now, the pattern is impossible to ignore. It's not about strictness. It's about independence of the system. It doesn't need your agreement, your approval, or your satisfaction to continue. And when nothing bends around you, something shifts internally. Not instantly. But enough to make you realize you were never negotiating. You were just expecting to. At a wildlife sanctuary, an American tourist tried to step outside a marked path for a better photo. "Just for a second," he said, already moving. A staff member nearby spoke without raising her voice. "Stay on the path." He laughed lightly. "I won't touch anything." She didn't repeat herself. She didn't move closer either. He paused mid-step, waiting for explanation or warning. It didn't come. Behind him, other visitors stayed exactly where they were, cameras raised from the path. No one followed. No one encouraged him. The space beyond the line felt suddenly unavailable. He stepped back without another word. The rule hadn't been enforced. It had just existed. At a crowded takeaway spot in Sydney, an American tried to rush his order by explaining he had a flight. "Can you move mine up?" he asked, holding his receipt like proof. The worker glanced at the number, then back at the screen. "We'll call it when it's ready." Same tone as every other order. He waited, checking the clock, shifting weight, looking for eye contact that might change something. None came. Orders were called steadily, numbers rising without interruption. When his finally came up, nothing marked it as special. He took the bag, quieter now. Around him, people moved normally. Time hadn't adjusted for him. It had simply continued.
Did you like these stories? If so, like and write in the comments what topics you would like to hear the next stories on. Thank you. Bye bye.